Sunrise is the first piece on the album. It was a little piano thing that I had on my phone, and then our friend Dav put this really amazing harmony on it, and I asked him to put a demo together of it for another album in the future, and then the demo was really great, and so we put it on this.
Church was one of the first songs we worked on for the album, and we did lots of recording, lots of jamming on it while still on tour. But it really only came to life when Nora recorded her vocal at the end.
Trouble in Town, I think, came from living in America and just feeling a lot of the energies going on and learning about things like the 13th Amendment and stuff like that. And the song, I think, was just born out of that education. Ever since we met Brian Eno, who is so into gospel and doo-wop and stuff, I've been trying to see if there was a song that would work like that. And there was another song called Broken, which I thought was great, actually. But then this one came through and beat it.
Well, the song Daddy was probably one of the earlier songs to come together in the album recording. It's quite a straightforward song, and it came together very quickly. The elements are all quite simple, but the emotion is the important thing, and I don't necessarily think it's an autobiographical song. It's just from a point of view of a young child, and we're trying to sort of portray that, I suppose, a story that perhaps many people could relate to.
WOTW, whatever it is, Wonder of the World, Power of the People. That's just a voice memo recording from the last day of our last tour in Buenos Aires. And I didn't even have the confidence to show it to the band as a song, but eventually they just said, oh, let's just put that voice memo on. I don't know if that means they don't like it or what, but they let it through.
Arabesque is a very unusual song for us, I think. It's a very different song structure. Of course, it's got Femi Kuti and his band playing on there, which we're incredibly honoured to have. Arabesque was actually a completely different song, which we wrote and recorded about 10 years ago. And there's an echo of that old song at the very beginning of the new version, in the intro. I'm very proud of that song. I think it's very different for us. Yeah, I think it's just quite a departure from anything we've done before.
When I Need a Friend comes, I think, from being so into some of the church music I heard as a kid. And it comes from trying to do something that my mum might like.
Guns is probably the rawest sounding song on the album. It's just Chris and an acoustic and I play a tiny bit of keyboard. You can just about hear. But it's definitely the rawest sounding song that we've probably ever made, I think.
Orphans was a song which came along, I think, in the very last week of the album. We in our minds, we'd kind of finished the album, and then Chris brought in Orphans and said he felt it was a song which had just kind of been handed to him, and he felt that it was an important song that we sort of record quite quickly and make it work for the album. And of course, when we heard it, we loved it, and we felt the same way.
The song Echo is one that Chris came into the studio with. He'd spent some time recording it in Los Angeles, I think. When I first heard it, it was very evocative, and I felt like, regardless of what the lyrics or anything about what the sort of sentiment of the song is, it just painted a very clear picture to me. And from the moment I heard it, I thought that, we've got to try and make this song as great as it can be, because I think it's a really important part of the record. It features some beautiful guitar playing and piano playing by Chris and Johnny, and it's just very evocative, and it to me, it reminds me of the African savannah, the big plains, and it's quite expansive, yet still intimate.
Cry, Cry, Cry comes from Loving Earth Angel, the song, one of the songs in Back to the Future. It comes from wanting to use this little character called Angelina, this other voice that we have. And then I heard this old song called Cry Baby by an artist called Garrett Mims, and we sort of not sampled it, but musically we quote it. And then we asked permission if we could use that, and that's why there's like 8 writers on that song. Old Friends is really about my friend Tony, who was one of my first best friends. And one time I was cycling one way and he was cycling the other, and I thought he was waving at me, but he was actually telling me to keep going. And I stopped and a car hit me. But if I hadn't been confused, I would have stopped earlier and would never have survived. So he saved my life on that and many other occasions. And he passed away about 10 years ago, and this song is about him.
So the second half of Bunny Adam, we recorded it at a sound check at SNL, Saturday Night Live, a couple of years ago. The first half, Chris had this beautiful piece that sort of kicking around for a couple of years as well. So, and they just kind of came together. Obviously, John Coltrane was not at SNL, but he still features.
Champion of the World, despite having a great title, obviously, with my surname in it, but it's also a song that was very important for this album. With albums, you tend to get a few sort of cornerstones, like a foundation, and this is certainly one of them. It goes along with the importance of that song also means that it tends to be the one that takes the longest to record, because you find yourself trying lots of different things, adding lots, taking lots away, until you come back to what is the essential bare bones of the song. But it's something the thing that we always thought about is we want to try and make an underdog anthem. That's what we set out to do, and hopefully we succeeded.
Everyday Life is obviously the title song for the album. The album was called something else for quite a long time, but when Everyday Life came along, I think we felt that it really summarised everything we were trying to say on the album. I've got very fond memories of the recording process of that song, and lots of nice things came along to add a lot of colour to it. Yeah, I think it's just a great song to kind of really represent this album.
Thank you for listening, if you're listening at this point, and I send you all my love. Thank you. Bye.